Hi guys, welcome to Shelf Control. I'm Lisa.
I'm Norm.
And today we're talking about Dead Reckoning. So we did this video months ago.
We did it quite a while ago.
And user error, not calling anyone out, but there was no sound to it.
No sound whatsoever.
So we kept meaning to redo it, never got to it, and today we said, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Do it!
We're doing it.
Just do it!
So, Dead Reckoning.
So, Dead Reckoning.
It is a card building game instead of a deck building game. You start with
12 cards.
12 cards.
It's just like your crew on deck. So you have deck hands, you have your crew, your captain, you got a buccaneer, a bosun, gunners, purser. Just basically, people you would take on you if you're on a sea excursion.
And so everybody has the same deck of cards. But as you play, you're going to be getting these upgraded cards that come on a clear sheet with a little bit of printing. This one has in the middle an ability, and so you have to play.
And then you
this
throw
game.
it on your board and just cast it aside.
And so you have to play with sleeves because your individual card is made up of your character's levels as well as one clear card that just has who he is. So this is the deckhand. And so when you buy an upgrade, you'll insert that in between your character's card and their level card. So then when you put them all together, he now has an added ability to that card. So when you draw him next time, he doesn't only do what's listed on the bottom, he'll also do what's listed in the middle. And there's spots for 3 upgrades, so each card can hold 3. And it should go without saying that if you already have a middle upgrade, you can't add another middle upgrade because it just slides in the back and
but you said it.
Cover. So that's what people do when they say it goes without saying. They usually end up saying it.
And the abilities on the card for each of your shipmates gets better, of course, as you level them up. So there's 4 levels, and so each level gets a little bit of a better action for him.
And leveling up, you just take the solid card in the back, and to go from 1 to 2, you just flip it over. So then the level 1 is covered up by your crew card, and the level 2's in there at the bottom, a little upgrade. And then when you go to 3, flip it around to the other side,
and then flip it to level 4.
Flip it around to level 4.
Again, that kind of went without saying too once you explained the first bit.
Still said it.
So on your turn, in any order, you can load, unload, rearrange, or jettison your money and your barrels.
We each have a ship that comes with certain symbols on it and so much carrying capacity.
I know the ship's cool.
Focus.
Each one has this front sail that can hold 4 cargo and this rear sail that can hold 3 cargo. And so you can arrange your cargo on your ship any way you want. You can also jettison it, because any cargo that's sitting in a spot with a symbol basically covers up that symbol, so it's not available to you.
And to start the game, these 2 middle sections, you cannot hold any cargo there. So unless it tells you that space holds cargo, you can't put anything there. So you start with just 2 areas that you can put cargo in, and each one of them has a sail for your ship. So if you've got a lot of cargo there, you don't have access to that sail anymore. So you've got to be careful and strategic in how you do that. There's different upgrades you can get that we'll talk about in a bit that allow you to carry more stuff that you can kind of fill into this middle section. And there's cards that will give you sails and things like that. But so everyone starts the game in their harbor. And so you're going to draw 4 cards at the beginning of your turn. And those are going to be the 4 that you use. In this instance, I have 2 crew, a purser, and a first mate. So my crew, being level 1s, allow me to take a barrel. So for my turn, I would take 2 barrels, and they automatically go in the harbor. So, and it'll show you on your barrel if you can take it anywhere, or if it's just in the harbor, or if it's on your ship directly.
And so one thing that they've added in the game, which is kind of nice, is they've added these harbor tiles, which are basically the same as your harbor up here. There's a harbor of each color for each player up here. But if you're sitting far away from the harbor, instead of always piling the barrels up there or having to reach all the way over here, when you go to harbor, you can just come over here to your own play area and put them down there. So that's really nice for the people who are sitting far away from the top of the board.
Yep.
And that's why she's got some barrels there and my ship is sitting up here.
And so my 3rd card is a first mate, which gives me another barrel. So that would go into my harbor. And then my 4th card is a purser, and the purser allows you to produce on a particular island, and that island's either going to produce money or it's going to produce barrels, and the island will tell you what it will do. So I don't have to use all 4 cards, so because this is useless for me, I might just hold it for the next round, and then when my turn's over, I get to draw 4 more cards. So you're always going to draw 4 cards, but you can hold up to 6 in your hand. Some tiles will allow you to hold more in your hand, but you only get to draw 4 at the end of your turn.
And some cards will let you draw more at the end of your turn.
Right.
But you're limited to your hand size. So if your hand size is 6 and you've got 2 cards in hand, but then you can draw 5 cards, you'll still only draw the 4 to get up to 6. You don't draw up and then discard.
So I've played my 3 cards, and so I'm still in harbor, and I'm going to go ahead and set my sails. So I don't have any sails on my cards, but I do have 2 sails on my ship. So down here there's a little sail tracker, so I'm going to put it on 2, and that means I have 2 movement. So at this point I can now load my ship, because you'll want to set sails before you load your ship, just so you don't cover them up and then you don't get them. So I'm going to go ahead and put all 3 of my barrels on my tableau, but I have to make sure I can hold them. So again, this section will hold 3 items, this section will hold 4. I can't carry any more than 7 items on my boat at this time. So I can now move 2. So the purpose of this game is you want to explore. You want to move. The game starts off, it's a 12 tile grid. So it's a 4x3, and the first row is already uncovered. And in this instance, it's 2 islands and just open water in this instance. So as I explore, I'm going to move 1, and then
Move it down here.
I move my sail down that I've used 1, and I can buy this upgrade if I want it. So it costs 1 barrel or 2 barrels, so I would spend these barrels if I wanted it, and I now have this upgrade. I just put it to the side for now, and I have 1 more movement. In this instance, I'm going to go ahead and explore. Use my last movement to go into uncharted territories. This tile now turns over, it's another island. So as a new island is discovered or a new tile is revealed, you get another upgrade card and you put it on that space. So I am now in here. So there are cards that allow you to drop influence in this island, in which case if you have the most influence, you own that island. So in this island, there's 4 places to put influence tiles. As soon as I have more than half influence down, then I own that island. I now have control over that island. This island here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 7 places to put influence, so I need to have at least 4 influence down so that I will have control of that island. And if I have control, I can drop cargo that I have on my ship down so that my next turn I can access my sails again, and then I can reload everything. If I have the purser, then I can go ahead and produce on that island, and this island tells me I can produce a gold and a barrel. So I could produce that on there and then pick it up, and then I can continue on. In this instance, I'm out of movement, so my turn would be over, and if I've used up the cards that I want to use. You're allowed to pick up 2 upgrades per turn, so I can carry 1 upgrade over. I don't have to necessarily put him in one of my used cards.
Since this one has a battle ability, she might want to hold this over until she draws a card that can instigate a battle or possibly, participate in a battle.
Right, defend a bit in a battle. So I can hold over 1. If I have 2 or more of these upgrades, I have to use all of them with the exception of 1 that I can carry over. So you have to use them on the cards you used that turn.
If you're carrying one over, it can't get that. You have to plate it to get the upgrade.
Yep. So in this instance, I said I didn't want to use my purser. I was going to wait till the next round. I can't decide to put this upgrade on him because I haven't used that card yet. And so once my turn is over, these cards that I used go into my discard pile, and I draw 4 more cards. Any space on the open sea that an upgrade was bought or removed from gets refilled, and now it's the next person's turn.
And so then I would reveal any cards from my hand that I wanted to and basically do the same thing. What you're trying to accomplish in this game is getting the most points, which is money that you collected, plus you've got these achievements up at the top. There's 9 of them, and they also trigger the end game. As soon as somebody accomplishes 4 of these 9, then their turn, at the end of their turn, everybody else gets 1 more turn. They don't, and then you see how many points you got. So the different things you can do, she was talking about exploring. Depending on the number of players, since there's 9 face down at the start of the game, in a 2-player game, whoever explores 5 of those 9 gets to accomplish that.
So because I discovered 1 space, explored 1 space, I'm going to put one of my colored cubes up here just to keep track. So as soon as somebody hits that 5 in a 2-player game, then everyone's going to take their explorations back, their cubes back, and whoever got it is going to basically put just a little marker down saying, yep, I achieved that. At the end of the game, I'll get those points. Now, all of these achievements, multiple people can get, with the exception of this exploration one. Only 1 person will get that one, but all the others, multiple people can get.
In a multiplayer game, you might get multiple players, because there's 9 here. Since in a 2-player you need 5, that leaves only 4. So the second player's not getting one.
Right.
In a 3-player game, you need 4. So 2 people could get 4, but we found that no one's
going to let you get it.
We ended up when we played 3-player, we all got 3 because we were not going to let somebody get that 4.
Because that's 5 points at the end of the game, so you don't want anyone to get that. So,
and even if you have the movement, you can only explore 1 tile at a time. So you can't move here, explore, move here, explore, move here, explore. If you wanted to, you could move through a spot without exploring it and in an unexplored and then explore it, leaving this one unexplored. You didn't stay long enough to see what was there.
I really wasn't paying attention.
The next achievement is spending 12 barrels from anywhere, whether they're in your harbor, on one of your islands, or on your ship. You just get rid of 12 of them and you'll accomplish this for 2 points at the end of the game. If you have 30 money, you'll be collecting your money in your chest, and you're keeping that a secret from everyone so they don't know how much money you got.
And everyone starts with how much money?
15.
So everyone starts with 15 gold in their treasure chest. So as you get money, as you're acquiring money throughout down here, as you're exploring or producing on islands, you carry that money on your ship until you get back to harbor. And that's when you can put it back.
You throw it in
your
here.
chest.
And so you're going to want to keep track of it, because as soon as you get 30, you just announce, hey, I'm over 30, and you can claim that for 2 points at the end of the game.
But it has to be 30 in your chest. It can't be 30 as a combination of what might be in your chest, on your boat, or on your islands. It has to all be in your chest.
As you're playing, you can fortify your islands with buildings, And if you ever have 5 buildings out on the board, you can claim this for 3 points. If you have the 5 and somebody comes in and wipes your buildings away, so you don't have 5 anymore, you don't lose that.
Yep, once you claim it, you've got it.
The next one is having 3 of your crew members up to level 4. So throughout the game, you went to level 2, level 3, level 4.
So one thing we didn't say is at the start of the second round, you can upgrade one of the cards in your hand. And that's just meaning you're moving them from the level 1 to the level 2. And you get to do that starting the second round. We don't do it at the beginning of the game. Once round 2 starts, you do that. And you do that every turn. You get to upgrade a card.
And you can upgrade at any time before the start of your turn. But for the most part, we will hang back, because if you get attacked, you can use the cards in your hand that have battle abilities and cannons on them to fight back. And so, like in this case, I have a gunner in my hand who at level 1 doesn't have any cannons on him, but at level 2 does. So I might be sitting here thinking, oh, I want to level up my bosun this turn.
But then I say, no, we're fighting.
But then Lisa's like, okay, I'm going to attack you. And it's like, oh, I should have leveled up my gunner instead. So we'll wait until just the beginning of our turn to be like, okay, I didn't get attacked. I can go with my bosun plan. But if you wanted to, you could level up the bosun immediately after your turn and you drew these. You're just stuck with that decision your next turn.
So that's how you'll level up your crew. There's also cards or enhancements that allow you to upgrade something. If there's certain cards that if you lose a battle, you get to upgrade a card. So there's different ways to upgrade or level up your crew, but the most common way is just at the start of your turn, you level up someone in your hand. So.
And a trick you can do is you can level somebody up to 2, play your other cards, and leave that level 2 in your hand. So then next turn, you'll draw 4 more, so you have 5 in your hand, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to level up that level 2 to a level 3 and play out these cards and hold him in my hand, and then next turn get him up to 3, and next turn get him up to 4. So you can get a level 4 pretty quickly just by holding him up.
But you're not leveling up anybody else.
You're not leveling up anybody else, and you're not using his upgraded abilities at all. So
you got to find that balance there. So the next achievement is enhancements on your boat. So ship upgrades.
So over here, there's a whole bunch of tiles that fit the spaces on your boat. And you have a character that can build these after you level them up high enough. And you'll just build it, and you can slot it in somewhere on your boat. You can cover up already existing upgrades, or even the basic ones that you started with. So if you get more than the 4 that you've got here, you can cover them up to get more, and they're worth points at the end of the game. Plus, having 4 of them is an achievement for 6 points, which is a pretty big amount of points. The next one is dealing with the island control.
So there's cards in your hand. So the Buccaneer, for example, he allows you to drop an influence as his level 1 ability. And as he upgrades, he allows you to drop more influence. So your influence is just on a particular island. I'll play my Buccaneer, and I drop 1 influence on that island. In this case, it has 3 spaces for influence. I've only placed 1, so I don't have control of this yet. So as soon as I place that second one, I'll have control. And then, so let's say I did place 2 on my turn.
It's got 4 spaces.
Oh, it's 4 spaces. I'm sorry. The light's glaring. So it's got 4 spaces. So as soon as I have 3 influence there, I now have control. I have majority on that island. I have control. And so I take another cube and I put it in the infinity column. So there's a column here. So as it changes hands of influence and owning the island, then you're going to add another one. So if Norm gets control of that island, he's going to drop his cube above mine. And then if I get control back, I'll drop a cube in that infinity line above his.
It's called a permanent influence.
Permanent influence.
And so if I move in here
and become a jerk,
if I put down one influence, there's one empty space, so I have to put mine in that empty space. But after that, any influence that I place, I can choose anybody else's cubes to knock out of there.
Yep.
And so
he just can't remove the permanent one.
When you're counting for control of an island, that permanent influence counts. So even though she's got 2 here, she's got 3 because of that permanent. So I would have to knock out one more. And now I have 3 cubes to her 2. So I would take a cube, bump hers down, and I now have a permanent influence there.
On that infinite track.
And it shows that I have control of that.
Yep. And so as soon as you have 6 of those infinite markers out there, you achieve that. You get that achievement for 3 points at the end of the game.
And you can get a bunch of these infinite cubes on one island, because if she comes back in and knocks 2 of my cubes off, now she's got 4 to my 2, and she'll bump me back down, and she has 2 influence cubes on that island. So you can get a bunch of influence cubes on individual islands. You don't have to have an influence cube in 6 islands to accomplish that.
And at the end of the game, whoever has the most influence in that island, or whoever has control of that island at the end of the game, gets the first place point on that particular island. So in this case, I would get 3 points for having control of it. Second place would get 2 points. And third place, if you're playing 3 or 4 players, would get 2 points. So you want to, even if you know you're not going to get control of an island, you at least want to have one marker down.
Try to get a little bit of influence
right,
there.
to get a second or third place there, because that's still points at the end of the game.
The next achievement is blowing up an opponent's ship. So
sinking an opponent's ship.
If you can sink someone. So
which is awesome.
When you do a battle, you can win a battle without sinking a ship. You can also win a battle and have your ship sink.
Yes, which he learned very quickly. So as you battle, you can get damage. And if you get 5 or more damage
your ship
at the end of the turn, your ship will sink. You may still win that battle, and we'll talk about battling in a minute, but you're still going to sink, and you'll have to do the consequences of sinking.
And if you sink somebody's ship, you claim this achievement for 3 points.
Yep, and you only have to sink 1.
Then you have winning battles. If you can win 4 battles, not including battles against buildings, then you can accomplish that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sink them, you just have to win.
And there are certain cards out on the board that have a merchant ship on it. You can either buy this for 4 barrels and it gives you a cannon just to add on one of your cards, or you can decide to fight this merchant ship, in which case you would pick it up, turn it over, and then you would follow what it says to do in regards to that battle.
So you don't know how strong something is before you fight it.
So if you win that battle, it counts towards the 4 that you need to get that achievement.
And it's been my experience that this one's not a difficult one.
But level 1s are not easy.
This guy only drops 2 cubes. But yeah, just because they're in the level 1 section does not mean that they're going to be an easy fight. I figured that out.
And as you can see, there's 4 levels here, and so there's 4 boxes of cards for each level.
And so as each level gets revealed, you're going to draw from the appropriate stack and put them in here.
And as you buy those upgrades at the end of your turn, it would refill on that particular stack.
And they come in these containers, because if it was just a stack of cards, you'd be able to see what was coming up next. You'd be able to see what was under that and what was under that, because they're all transparent. But the very bottom of the cards never have any printing on them, so you put them in with the top up at the top, so you can't really see what's coming up, which is...
And I love the concept of these little boxes and having those sleeves in there. So I guess the last thing to discuss, well, so you can make these upgrades that he had talked about on your island. You can fortify it a bit. Where are the fortifications? In here?
They're in there.
So you can put down a mill, which would allow you, if you produce on that island, you would get a little bit extra. So on this first island, if you produce on it, you get a barrel and 2 gold. Now, if there's open sea beside it, sometimes it will give you additional gold for it. So this one has...
They have arrows pointing and showing what bonus those areas get.
So I would get 1 barrel and 3 gold. But if I had control of that island and I had a mill on it, I would get an additional barrel and an additional gold. I would then get 4 gold and 2 barrels if I pursered on it. So
and it goes on the island. And you don't have to be in the spot to produce there. So she could be way over here. This is the island she controls.
I can purser there.
But that also leaves it open for somebody else to come in, place enough influence to take control of it, and then take the stuff off.
They could not take that the spoils unless they had control of that island. So
and if you take control of an island, the mill gets destroyed.
Yeah, you don't get to use the mill someone else built.
You'll have to then build your own if you want one there.
You can also build on there a cannon. So it's a, what's this one called? Just
garrison?
A garrison. So if you build that one on an island you control, anytime an opponent moves into that space, they automatically take a damage because my cannons have been like, oh, someone's probably trying to invade us, pow, pow, pow. And he would automatically take a damage. Now he can choose to fight that cannon. He cannot drop influence on that island if there's a cannon there. He has to destroy that cannon first in a battle, and if he destroys it, he can then place influence down. The final thing to build is, what is this one?
Fortress?
A fortress. These could be the correct names.
There's really no way to know.
And the fortress, again, just allows for additional protection if that island is attacked.
The cannon, we'll explain battles in a second. It only drops 2 cubes in a battle. The fortress doesn't do any damage when you're sailing by, but it drops 5 cubes.
So if I have a cannon and a fortress, that would be an additional 7 cubes that would be dropped in the event someone is trying to take over that island. So these are just buildings you can produce on your islands to protect it, to keep other people from taking your stuff.
And the cannons are a real nuisance when you move through and take a damage.
They're super fun. I remember one game I had cannons on all 3 of the top row, so he could never go to harbor without moving through my cannons and getting damage. So that was fun. That was good stuff. All right, do you want to talk about battling?
So battles are unique. So you've got this pirate ship that you
let's move some stuff out of the way.
That you build, and you've got this tray. I'm going to move the walls away. You've got this dual layer board that has all these different symbols on it. Some of it is plunder, like here's a gold and a barrel that you can get from the battle. Some of them deal damage. These fires deal damage to the ship. The crowns are how you determine who wins, whoever has the most crowns. So that's why we were saying you could sink and the other guy not sink, but you could still win the battle because you had the most crowns.
And if it's a tie, whoever the current player is the winner of that tie.
There's one spot right in the middle that has a little explosion on it. Any cube that lands in there, you take back, grab a second cube, and redrop. Because the way the battles will work, you've got this nice little thing around there to keep them from going. Let's put this in the grooves to hold that. And so it's kind of like a dice tower, but it's for cubes. So let's see, how many can I got 4 cubes here. So let's say that I was doing a battle against Lisa. You count up how many cannons you have that you've played out. Your ship comes with 1 cannon itself. And if you happen to be fighting in a place with your own buildings, they give you cubes as well. And so you'll count up how many cubes you have. And let's say I had 4.
And ship upgrades can give you additional cannons on your ship as well. So let's say I had 4 as well.
So you would take her 4, my 4.
You would put them all together.
And you just drop them through the ship. And they fall out. And I'll just take this off so you can see. If there's one that's leaning into a space, it moves into that space. And so then you would just look at the total. I have 2 crowns and she has none. You can't see my face.
Oh, thank God for that.
So she's got 2 crowns. I've got 2 crowns and she has none. If we had any battle abilities, we could take turns doing those as well. Some might drop cubes, some might move cubes or something like that. But then you would look and see, okay, any damage dealt? She dealt 2 damage to me. So I would take 2 fires and put them on my boat. And then you look at, I didn't do any damage to her. She can get a coin or a barrel twice for these 2. I get a coin and a barrel on my ship. And then we both will get 2 barrels on our ship. And so if you have room for those, you can then pile them up into your boat. When you lose, the loser always takes 1 damage. So she would take 1 damage for losing the fight. But that's it for the battle. We battled. I took a little bit of damage. She lost the fight. We both got some plunder that was floating around in the water. And because I won, I would put 1 cube up there to show that I won 1 battle. And so I'm 1/4 of the way to accomplishing that.
And in the event you're battling the buildings that are on an island, you would use the black cubes that are kind of off to the side. So you would use however many it tells you.
Same thing with the merchant ship.
If you fight a merchant ship.
This merchant ship says he gets 2 cubes.
You'll use these neutral cubes to drop in for them.
They don't have battle abilities to go with it.
Yep.
But they do have something that happens when you win and something that happens when you lose.
Yep. And then, of course, they wouldn't get any plunder. So the buildings or the merchant ships, if their cubes fall into the plunder areas, they don't get any, obviously.
And if I'm fighting just buildings, I don't get plunder either, because the debris from the buildings don't fall into the water for me to pick up.
And of course, they don't take damage. So it's just a matter of you winning that battle.
That's the basics of the game. You'll just keep going around turn after turn, leveling somebody up, exploring, buying some upgrades, making your cards better for next time you draw them, and keep playing until somebody accomplishes 4 of those.
And again, as soon as you have 5 of these damage on your ship, and there are cards that will allow you to heal or to repair your damage. So your crew member, as you upgrade him, you can spend barrels to remove damage off of your ship. And the 4th level, when you get him to level 4, you don't have to pay anything. It's just when you play him, you automatically remove a damage. You don't have to pay any barrels. So that's a benefit of getting him to level 4. And all the repairs you have to be in harbor to do. So you got to keep that in mind too. So if you don't have an upgraded card to allow you to heal, you're carrying this damage around with you. And as soon as you get 5, you sink.
Yeah, so if you have some damage piled up on you and you have a bunch of cargo and money on your ship, people might be like, hey, I need to put that last damage on there.
Yep.
Because when you sink, all the money on your ship is lost. And
yep.
if you have less than 5 money on your ship, you'll keep the money, but take 5 out of your 15 that you started with from your in your treasure chest,
and you give that to the winner.
And if the damage was caused by somebody, then whoever sunk you gets that money. If you got sunk by a merchant ship, you just lose it. But if I sunk her, whatever money was on her ship, as long as it was more than 5, would go to me.
So if you've got...
Or 5 from here
right.
if she didn't have 5.
So if you've got 10 or 15 gold on your ship, he gets it all if he's the one who sinks you.
You don't lose barrels on your ship when you sink.
You sink, but you get to keep your barrels.
The barrels float.
Do they float?
Oh, yes.
So the barrels are what you're riding in on back to harbor, apparently.
So then you'll just immediately go back to harbor, and all your damage will be taken off. So you get to start fresh.
Yep. except you're down whatever money you had.
And if you were partway through your turn, if you didn't take all your movement, once you sunk, you go to harbor, your sails go back down to 0. So
And
your
it's the
turn's
next person's
basically
turn.
over.
Yep.
So you can't just fight somebody just because you moved in there. You have to have the symbol on your card to initiate that fight.
Yep.
At the end of your turn, you can choose to go into pirate mode. And you've got the skull and crossbones on a poker chip.
It originally came with this little...
If you were part of the first Kickstarter,
You got a little cardboard piece that you could drop into your ship that said you were in pirate mode.
it's basically a black flag that has your ship's
Color in the middle of it.
crest on it. Yeah, it doesn't have the skull and crossbones. That was a little bit of a disappointment because
And it's kind of flimsy. It doesn't always stay where you need it to.
the prototype copies that they sent people had these flags with the skull and crossbone on it that would sit in there and seem to fit a little bit better too, and they looked really cool. And so when we got these, it was kind of a disappointment. But in the second Kickstarter, they heard people, and all copies now come with these poker chips that have the skull and crossbones on it in your color, and you just set your ship on it. And they were nice enough that anybody who got the expansions in the second Kickstarter, who were part of the first one, got an upgrade kit that gave you this stuff, as well as cards for printing errors and things like that they fixed. And so that was really nice. So anyways, at the end of your turn, you can go into pirate mode. And what that means is anybody who moves into that space has got to fight you before they do anything else. And so you can use that
As a really good defense.
to protect, to be like, okay, this island, I just produced a bunch of stuff on it and I can't hold it all, so I'm going into pirate mode. So if you want to come in here, you're gonna have to fight me.
And I forget pirate mode a lot. I forget that I can go into pirate mode. Because again, this island is 9 points if you have control of it at the end of the game. So you want to keep that, because second place is 5 points. So that's a big difference. So that's a pretty important island to control.
But in a multiplayer game, going into pirate mode, you have to strategically decide to do it, because you can't decide not to fight somebody who moves in there. So in a 3-player game, I'm like, okay, I'm in pirate mode, I'm going to protect this place. Lisa's like, fine, I'll move through and fight you, and win or lose, I might get some damage on me. And then she moves on to wherever she wants to go. And then the 3rd player is like, you know what? You're almost dead. I'm going to move in there too. So going into pirate mode, you need to make sure you can back that up. And so it can be a deterrent, but it can also be your downfall. And you can only come out of pirate mode at the end of your next turn. You can be like, okay, I'm going to stay in pirate mode, or no, I'm going back into merchant mode. And
I think we've covered everything.
I think that's pretty much it. There's other nuanced things. This isn't a rules teach by any stretch.
No.
But that's basically how you play the game.
And there's expansions that add little bits and changes here and there. There's saga cards, so you can progress along a story. There's if you're playing the saga, what can you...
There's the campaign. There's a campaign mode that you play out over a number of games, and some of the cards in these sagas will actually give you some saga points, campaign points that will help you go. And
so the story is really interesting. So you get these books. So if you end up getting one of these upgrades that say
this merchant ship is from the first saga. And so if you fight them, if you win, it says you'll gain $1 onto your ship, and you read book 1.3. So you'll look at book 1 and go to the 3rd section, and you'll read it, and it might give you a reward. It might give you a choice of something else to do. it might give you a card. There's in each of these. I need the Saga 1 because it's got fewer stuff in it. So here's the book, and it's got numbered sections
Don't
through
let
it.
him see it.
And you'll have a package of hidden cards, and it might say, you know, obtain card 1.03, and you'll just go through here and get that card. And there's a divider, so cards that get discarded go in here, so they won't come up again. And as you're playing, you can keep playing through the saga, and as cards get replaced, then those cards every game get shuffled up back into here.
Yeah, as long as they haven't been discarded or trashed. Yep.
And so it's kind of a neat way to integrate an expansion into the game slowly while giving you a story.
And there's certain envelopes that they give you that you would open at certain points that have things in it. They have boxes that you would open that have things in it. So you don't know what any of this stuff is as you're playing through it. And so it leaves that element of surprise for you to figure out as you go through the saga.
And you don't have to have played at the beginning of the saga to jump into a game partway through, because just maybe occasionally one of the cards from the saga will come up, and then you'll do what it says. And so you can play through the sagas even without that campaign mode. You might get some cards that say gain 2 campaign points. You just ignore that part and just carry on. Some of the cards that you get aren't upgrades that go into your cards, but instead might be like a key, and so you'll just set that off to the side. It's a saga item,
And you have no idea what to do with it.
Some other card will say if you have card number whatever, then read something in the book, and so if you sync somebody who has a saga item, you can take one of their saga items. So she might want that key that I have, so she fights me and takes my key,
Even though I don't know what the key does. So there's lots of interesting ways. There's lots of playability here. You can either just play the base game without any saga information, or you can incorporate a saga. I think there's been 3 expansions so far.
3 so far.
So the Kickstarter just ended for the 4th. And then the new Kickstarter also has the box. So the giant box that everything fits into. So that was pretty cool if you signed up for that and got that one.
Yeah, so they're offering this big wooden box that will fit in a calyx shelf that opens up and has drawers to hold everything. It's a costly box. It's made out of wood and has all those drawers in it, but
we did make the investment to get it.
This game is a beast to pack back into the box. Even just the base game.
Yep.
Going into the box, it's a Tetris puzzle.
And it tells you how to do the Tetris puzzle.
And so, you know, none of the saga stuff will fit in, so they got to be separate. So
if we want to play this game with all 3 of the expansions that are out so far, we're pulling out 4 boxes to put this game together. So it'll be nice having that big box that everything fits into, and they've also said there's space in it for any potential new expansions that come out. So
it's a big thing, because this 4th expansion does not have any saga elements. It just adds more cards, more stuff, more maps and things like that. And so my first thought was the base game and the 3 sagas fit in one calyx. Nice. And it's like, okay, I can live with that, but I can't pack what I've got in the base box very well. If the 4th saga, if I wanted to take everything out of it and put it into the base box, it might not fit it at all. And so
then we're going into 2.
I'd have one saga off, and that
you can't have that.
That makes my brain hurt. So the box is expensive, the all-in-one storage, but that all-in-one storage with room for future expansions.
That's nice.
That's
so
great.
in one of the expansions, we did get the upgraded coins.
It does have nice money.
It is really, really nice money. So it comes in 10s, 20s, 3s, and 1s. So it's really nice to have this. I mean, I'm a metal coin person. That's the only component upgrade we got.
Yeah, you could upgrade the barrels, but these wooden barrels,
These are so nice.
Look fine.
Yeah.
The upgrades are like a resin, like little
I like
crates,
these better.
And yeah, I like these. I like these barrels. They've come out with an upgrade for the buildings to go on to the places, where they're less the wooden pieces and more of a model of a fortress and stuff. I don't think that's worth that's worth the upgrade. The metal money was the only one that I splurged on.
So yep. All right, let's talk about what we like and don't like. I really like how they designed these cards and the sleeves and the concept of leveling up your cards and just flipping it over, and now you've got a level 2 ability, and then getting these upgrades and just sliding them in and knowing you have a row 1, row 2, row 3, so you can figure out before you buy it if that's what you want for that particular card. So I really like these transparent cards. I think just that concept is so neat, that development.
Yeah, John D. Clare, the designer, he's come out with a few games that have these clear cards, but this one seems to have taken things that has learned through all the others, and it was like, how many different ways can I make use of the fact that these cards are clear? Like that back card that's not clear, that you flip around for the level up, and the other cards that can slide in up to 3 upgrades. It's such a neat idea.
You can buy additional ones of these if they tear or you need to.
We have not had any problem with these sleeves.
And we've played this game a lot.
We shuffle a lot because it's these same 12 sleeves getting shuffled every time you're playing.
And you're potentially adding 3 of these transparent cards to each one, so it's thick.
They
get pretty thick.
Strained
so these sleeves have held up really, really well.
Yeah, so we haven't had to use any of the replacement sleeves that we got, but they provided some in case things go bad.
I like the components of this game. The basic components are perfect. I mean, you don't need the upgrades. They work just fine, and they're wooden pieces, so they are substantial. I like the concept of using these little cubes for basically everything you're doing, whether it be tracking how many exploration tiles you've done, if it's dropping influence, or if it's fighting. So one thing we didn't mention, if you're out of cubes and you're having to do a battle, you're out of cubes. So you can take them off of the map, off of islands that you control or that you don't control, but you got to be strategic in that. So if you have the ability to drop 7 cubes, you may not have 7 cubes you want to sacrifice out on the board. So you got to be strategic in that too. So I think that's really clever. The design of this game and the play of this game is really clever. It's overwhelming at first to learn it all, but it's for how much is there, it's a very simple game to play.
Yeah, it's, everything, you've got these 12 cards that you're just developing, and so as you're playing, the cards will get more and more complicated, but you're also seeing how the different things play off of each other, and so it's not terrible to understand while you're playing once you get the basics down.
Is there anything else you like?
I think that this method of battling is unique. I don't know that I necessarily like it or dislike it. You could have done something with dice, but there's something about this.
It's satisfying.
Being able to win a fight and still sink, or lose a fight but get a bunch of loot at the same time, get a bunch of plunder, and no matter how unbalanced the fight may be, you always have that chance of winning. If I'm only dropping 1 cube and mine drops into one of the crown sections and none of your 8 cubes land in a crown, I won the battle.
You may sink me.
You might do a bunch of damage, you might get a bunch of plunder, but my my one cube landing in the crowns wins me the battle, and that's one of the accomplishments up there. It's
I'll take it.
Neat. I like that battle idea.
What about things you don't like?
Things I don't like. They have a module that they did that they kind of suggested to maybe give people a nudge in certain directions. There's these tiles that have 2 of the 9 accomplishments on it, and you would get 2 of these and pick one to start, and at the end of the game, for each of these 2 that you accomplish, you get 2 bonus points for. So it's like, in this case, it's winning 4 battles and leveling up 3 people to level 4. So if I have this, secretly I know I get more points for doing that and that, so I'm going to try for those. And so it gives you a good direction to go in. What I don't like about it is that 2 of them, there's 2 symbols for each of the 9 that are scattered out. So there's 2 for the exploration. And the exploration is the only one that you have the possibility of being shut out from and not being able to accomplish. And so if you have one of these, especially as a new player and not understanding how fast exploration can go and that you can get blocked out, you pick this, all of a sudden everybody's explored everything, you can't meet that. It's like, okay, I can't get that other one, I can only do the half. I don't really like that.
And you don't have to play with those.
It would be nice to play with these. I was thinking maybe just take out the 2 that have the exploration on it and give people the
House
other
rules.
ones. But like I said, there's 2 of every symbol. So this one has exploration and the 6 permanent influence cubes. This one has exploration and the 4 people leveling up. If you take those 2 out, then the remaining ones have 2 of all the others except for the leveling 4 people and the 6 cubes.
But it is all done at random.
It is done at random, but if I'm given one of those that has the 6 cubes and the 4 on it, I might be like, you know what? I know nobody is going to be racing to get the level 4 from this. So I might have a little bit more leeway on that one, or the 6 cubes. And I don't know. Maybe that's a metagame problem. Where
we might have played with those once. I mean,
we played with them a couple times, but
it doesn't change the game for me.
It's not a huge deal. So most of the time we don't play with them at all. I like the sagas, the way that it puts a little bit of a story in there. It can make things a little bit swingy. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a card that I flipped that turns out I wasn't the least bit prepared for, and there was nothing I could do. But as you're playing through, you could find stuff that would help you defeat that card. But they do have Sea Dogs expansions that you can draft at the beginning of the game, and it basically replaces somebody with somebody else. So you can,
and it'll tell you,
you can replace your purser with a quartermaster, and so the purser has the same ability, but it'll say if you get him to level 2, you now gain this other ability. And so you can actually do a little draft at the beginning of the game to make your 12 card deck look a little bit different than other people's and help you go in a certain direction. The third saga adds a whole nother board up at the top for gaining influence in these 2 nations, and that adds some more gear and some stuff like that. So far I'm indifferent with these. We've played with it a couple times. I don't know that it adds enough to make a difference.
Right.
It's something that I would like to tackle again after some more plays of just the regular to throw this back in, because it may just be like we're not done with the base game and the first couple sagas. That
We're not ready for that yet.
We're enjoying it enough that we don't need this to mix
Yep.
it up yet. So that's something that we're gonna try later.
And playing it again, mostly we play 2-player, but we have played it 3. Have you played it 4?
I've played it 4.
Okay. So we played it recently with David, and it does take some time because while another person's going, you don't do anything. So it's not an interactive game while everyone gets to do something. So you're sitting waiting for the other people to go. And sometimes it takes them a while because they need to figure out strategically what they're doing. So it can drag a little bit, but it's not... I guess drag wasn't the right word. The game can last a few hours, but it's not a drag because you're watching what they're doing, and what they're doing is then going to make you rethink what you might want to do on your turn because you already know the cards you're going to be working with on your turn, and you may see what they do and say, oh, I'm upgrading this one instead of that one. And so you're still thinking and active while they're having their turns, but you're not playing. So it can drag, the time can go.
Yeah, so long games don't bother me, but if you're someone who loses focus after an hour or so, then this might not be the game for you because the more players, the more it does drag.
Yeah, and I do lose focus if the game goes too long. I have not lost focus on this one. This one still has kept my attention.
The size of the map does not change on player count. How many of the blank ocean tiles does change for the number of players. So the more islands, the more players. I will say that with a 2-player game, the ocean seems a little bit too big.
You got a lot of ocean space to avoid each other.
It's real easy to be like, okay, Lisa's buying a bunch of cannons. I just need to stay on the other side of the ocean from her. If she starts moving towards me, then I'm going to move further away. Oh, if she's getting real close, I'm going up into the harbor for the extra protection. And so the fights between people doesn't happen as often in the 2-player.
Very true.
I am curious to try that. They do have a solo mode, so they have a solo rule book with cards that control another person out there. So if you're playing solo, it's basically like a 2-player game, but they will come in and fight you, and they'll fight you even if they're not in the same place as you. They'll just fight you.
Aggressive little suckers.
They do have a 2-player co-op variant where we would be working together against 2 of the bots out there that can just straight up fight us. That might be an interesting way. I'd like to try this.
Yeah, we have not tried that version yet.
And because then you're playing a 2-player game with 4 ships out there.
You've done the solo, haven't you?
I've done the solo a few times, and it's not bad. I enjoy it. It's a lot of setup for a solo game. So
yeah, and that's another thing. This game does take a lot of setup. So especially if you've incorporated the sagas and you want to play again just the base game, you're having to go through all of these and remove all the saga cards. So there's an investment in setting up and taking down this game.
So really, every time I've played this solo, it's been we've played it, we've left it set up, gone to bed, and then the next day it's like, oh, you know what? I'm here by myself. It's set up. I'm gonna just shuffle up the ocean tiles, put them back out, and I'll play a solo game. I don't know that this is a solo game where I'd be let's take this off the shelf, set it all up, and play a solo game. I think it's more of a, oh, it's already here, I'll play solo.
And this game is not for retail, is it? It's only Kickstarter?
No. Yeah, with these clear plastic cards.
There's too much of an investment here to go retail.
I think retailers can, through the Kickstarter, get copies to sell, but it's not widely made available. And so that...
And I can see that. If you've got it, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of production to this, and they said it doesn't make sense to gamble and spend so much money to make so many copies that may or may not sell.
Right.
So.
That's smart. Okay, so we've talked about our likes and our dislikes. So the next thing we do is we rank it. There's 2 rankings. The first ranking is a 1 through 7. A 1 through 7. On the components and the
The
gameplay.
gameplay. The rules, whether there's anything broken in the game.
So 1 to 7, what would you give it? No, I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 7.
7.
Yeah. I didn't want your vote to influence my vote or make people think that I was copying you. So I give it a 7. I would not change anything in this game. I love the cards. I love the sleeves, the makeup of the game. I wouldn't change anything.
I think I might give it a 7 as well.
He's copying me.
I've always been interested in trying his card crafting system, but all the card crafting games seem to be fairly simple. Just the deck building part with none of the board part. For Mystic Vale was that one. He had a game called Edge of Darkness, which was a fantasy themed deck building game that I was curious to try, but it was like Dead Reckoning, whereas you had to get it through the Kickstarter because it was so expensive. And I wanted to get into it. I would watch videos of gameplay and it just wouldn't grab me. But this is the perfect implementation of this card crafting system, I think. It just fits so well with your different crew members.
When you first got this game, he had it set up on the table. He was learning how to play it, and he kept asking, do you want to play Dead Reckoning? And it just did not, just looking at it, it did not catch my interest. And he had tried describing it before he had gotten it, and to try to describe the pirate ship or the ship and how to battle and things like that. And it was not clicking in my head. And I want to say that was kind of in my early days of gaming anyway. And so it just never appealed to me. And then I just said, okay, I'll play with them. And I really enjoyed the game. So I really enjoy the whole battle options and how that works. Yep, I like it.
This is such a good way of eliminating the problem with a deck building game where you have a deck of cards, you buy a card, it goes into your discard pile, and then you'll shuffle back up and hopefully you'll draw it. As the game goes later and later, odds are you're buying cards that go into your discard pile that you're never going to see because the game's going to end with it in your discard pile.
Nope, you always have 12 cards.
You've got 12 cards and you're drawing 4 a turn, so
in 3 rounds you've gone through them.
You're constantly seeing the cards that you've improved.
And this one allows you to draw an additional card
at the end of your turn.
At the end of your turn.
That's one thing that I had to get my head around. Most of the deck building, you play a card that lets you draw a card, you draw immediately, and you can do it. This is, okay, I need to remember at the end of my turn, I draw an extra one.
So I can draw 5 instead of 4.
It's real easy to miss that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 7.
And all of these enhancements, they all do different things, and they're all quite clever. So some will give you an additional cannon, some will give you wheels. What's it called? You're at this.
Yeah, so
what's
they
the
got
wheel called?
Leather steering wheel?
No.
It's not a steering wheel. There's a name for it, but
yeah. So the wheel icon doesn't do anything on its own, but there'll be other cards, like this one gives you a wheel, but then it also says you gain a barrel in the harbor for every wheel symbol that's on this card. And it's not how many wheel symbols you have played out that turn. It's just on the card that it's on itself.
So he might be worth putting on your captain because your captain's going to have a wheel.
Your bosun also gets a wheel.
Yep. So you've got other cards. Yep, your bosun gives you a wheel. So it's just you want to be strategic in some of these enhancements that you buy, but they're really clever.
And it's also neat because sometimes, like this one that gives you a wheel and does something for the wheel, it takes up a bottom slot, and you'll find another really good card that does something really powerful with wheels, but it's also a bottom slot.
So you can't put it on the same card.
So I don't know how much thought they put into that. I think they probably did some good thinking and be like, okay, we don't want these 2 super strong abilities to be available in one card, so we're both putting them on the bottom.
Suckers.
So yeah,
right.
7.
7 for both of us. So our next scoring is 1 to 3. And
Or
that
zero.
is, or 0 to 3.
Depending.
And that's on playability, desire to play.
That wow factor, that X factor.
What's your X wow factor?
I think it's a 3.
You think?
I think it's a 3. I enjoy playing this game. It doesn't necessarily feel like a 10 out of 10 game, but that X factor of my enjoyment is pushing it up there.
Mm-hmm.
So like this feels like a 9 out of 10 game, but to me it's a 10 out of 10 game. If that makes sense.
I've enjoyed every time we've played it, and even if I'm not necessarily in a mood for this kind of detailed game, if he suggests it, I'm gonna play it. So it's a 3 for me as well. So it's a 10 out of 10. There's nothing I would change on it, and it's just a fun game to play. They balanced it out really, really well. They put a lot of thought and detail in it, and it's just enjoyable.
We've even played the campaign mode of 6 games or whatever it is that you play through.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through that twice, and that's a fun way to play.
Yep.
We just left it set on the kitchen table and was just be like, all right, let's do this again. And
it made eating dinner difficult.
So eating's never difficult.
All right, so we got another 10.
Another 10
out of 10 game. So again, is this staying in our collection?
Yeah.
It better.
Yeah,
we just bought the box.
We're getting that big storage box.
It better stay in this collection.
So it's got to stay at least a little bit longer.
That means we're gonna have to throw away all these other boxes.
So this, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully the Kickstarter's still going by the time this comes out. And I think they're going to do late pledges.
Okay.
I don't know if they're changing the prices at the late pledge level or not, but
it's a hefty investment. But when you look at the components of the game and everything that goes into it, I mean, it's understandable. It's gross, but it's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a good job in the production of this.
Indeed.
Like even not having to upgrade the barrels or the buildings.
I think we even like these barrels better than the upgraded ones.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of how the upgraded ones look. I'm not a huge fan of the upgraded buildings, and
we're simple folk. Except we need metal coins.
The cardboard coins had to go.
We can't do that.
But
all right, so a 10 out of 10. It's staying in our collection. So we have a random review video coming up for Horizons of Spirit Island.
Horizons of Spirit Island.
So we got to get that more plays in of that so we can get that video out to you. And then we'll see what else comes along. So thanks for following along with us. If you like what we're doing, like and subscribe. And follow us. Give us some thumbs up. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.